Even before we go on and start studying our micro and macroeconomics, it's important to take a step back and try to understand what economics is as a field. The word economic comes from a Greek word oikonomia, which means household management. Our history books tells us that the word was coined by Aristotle. As far as our history is concerned, obviously modern economics is not about household management, but what modern economics is all about in a nutshell is about how societies interact with each other on a micro and on a macro level, mainly through financial means. I'll get to that in a second. Micro interaction would mean industry or a specific industry. Let's say a retail industry. How do people interact in retail industry? How do people interact in a manufacturing industry? Or how do people interact with each other or with their own families as far as finance is concerned, as far as money is concerned? Or macroeconomics, how does the government interact with other governments from financial perspective? How do people interact with government? How does the government come up with policy? All those macro questions, all the interactions that we do from a financial perspective, we consider finance to be a major aspect is because finance is usually the most common denominator amongst all family. No matter where you are, where you come from, whichever socioeconomic background you come from, the most common aspect amongst all of us is the amount of money we have. Some of us might have more, whilst other might not. But the idea is that finance is one of the major factor of how we interact with each other. And if we can understand how we interact with each other from a financial perspective, we can help come up with policies that can stimulate the environment. Let me put it this way. Suppose I'm a father in a household with 3 kids. If I can understand the mentality of all the 3 children, I can come up with policies, I can come up with ways in which I can influence them to behave in a certain manner. Economists try to come up with policies that are aimed to influence people in such a way that the idea is that it might influence them such that they behave in a manner such that it either increases the wealth of the society or it increases the well-being of society, also known as economic development. Again, economics is all about how we interact with each other from a financial perspective. And the idea is that if we can understand that, we can come up with policies that can influence individuals to behave in a manner that can help increase wealth of the society as a whole or well-being of the society as a whole. Now, of course, in this simple, straightforward, oversimplified definition, there are 2 clear problems that you would have probably noticed. Number 1, societies don't just interact financially. Finance is, yes, could be one of the main criteria, but not the only criteria. There are 2 more important criteria, which is psychology and also politics. How we behave, how does our religion influence us? How does our culture influence us? How does our childhood and the environment we were raised up in? All these non-financial factors, all of these situations help us develop a certain psychology which can influence our behavior. Certainly does influence our behavior. Also, the other thing is politics. A good example of this could be office politics. How people interact with each other in a office greatly is controlled by the politics in the office. So finance is not the only factor that is the main way of interaction within society. Politics and psychology also plays a massive role. However, in economics we try to focus on finance. There's an emerging field within economics known as behavioral, hopefully the spelling is correct, behavioral economics, which deals with psychology and politics, which factors in psychology and politics as well. So how do we interact economically by factoring in psychology and politics and other non-financial aspects too. This is an emerging field and certainly one of the most interesting field in the recent history. The second thing you'll probably notice is that economics, understanding society, is not a simple idea. Societies are extremely complex and it's not something that we can easily understand, and it is because of that reason economics is known as a non-exact science, because we cannot truly understand how the society functions. In maths, you have right hand side must equal to left hand side, but in economics it's more like left hand side kinda sorta equals to right hand side. we cannot truly fully understand the society. So the policies that economists come up with, they don't entirely fit perfectly. There are always drawbacks, there are always consequences, there are always unforeseen situations that we have to deal with later on. But the idea is that economics, we are trying to understand our best, at least, to understand the society. Within economics, there are two major fields. You have microeconomics and you have macroeconomics. In microeconomics, you're trying to understand individual industries. This could include retail industry, manufacturing industry, e-commerce, and all different type of specific industries. And also macroeconomics could include families. So how do families interact from a financial perspective? Let me put it this way. If you are coming from a certain background, your spending will be different if you were raised in different backgrounds. Obviously, you have to factor in sociology and psychology as well, but the idea is that we are trying to understand from a micro perspective. Macroeconomics is about economy as a whole. So what that means is that we factor in governments, we factor in foreign governments, we factor in foreign investors. We try to factor everyone in and try to understand society in that manner. Hopefully this was a very brief, basic introduction into economics, and hopefully by the end of it you have a good idea of what economics is all about as a field. Hopefully this video was helpful to you.